I'm State Representative Roger Bruce, and I represent District 61, and I am the author of the legislation that allowed for the charter for the city to come into existence. And today we're going to talk about what has happened over the past 2 years since the city came into existence and about where we think things should be going forward.
I'm Odie Donald II, the first permanent city manager for the City of South Fulton, where I manage over 500 employees and support and deliver services to the more than 100,000 residents of the City of South Fulton.
Odie, it's great to have this opportunity to sit and talk with you. As you know, our city's been in existence now for roughly 2 years, and we keep hearing, from some of the naysayers about things that need to be done, but there's a lot that has been done. Yeah. And I want to spend a little time today talking about those things, the positive things that have been done. You're the city manager, you're responsible for the day-to-day operation of the city, so kind of tell us what it is that has transpired over these past 2 years.
A lot. Okay. I'll tell you, I can't take complete credit for all of it. I've been here a little under a year right now. But I will tell you. But you're
going to take the blame too.
Oh, I'm going to take the blame and the credit, absolutely. So, I mean, I'll tell you, so the City of South Fulton is, I think it is one of the most unique opportunities, not only in the state, but in the country. Yeah. In our year and a half, a little more than that, a little under 2 years, we have not only transitioned all services from the county.
Well, say briefly what those services are.
Oh, absolutely. So police, fire, sanitation, community development, which would be your planning and zoning. Right. We also have our own independent municipal court system. We have also created a few unique things as well, like Destination South Fulton, which is our home for economic development. But really, one of the key jewels, and I think probably the piece that we're most proud of, is our Parks and Recreation system.
Okay, talk about that a little bit.
Our Parks and Recreation system, I think, and I've worked all around the country, is really second to none. Okay. We have not only your normal parks and recreations like Welcome All Park, as well as Sandtown, where you can do everything from play football and basketball, after school programs and things of that nature, but we also have a shooting range, Tom Lowe Shooting Range, which is one of the few parks administered shooting range in the state. So I think that's very unique.
Okay, but to be more specific about things that people see as day-to-day, livable stuff. Police.
Absolutely.
We transferred the police department over. How many police officers do we have?
So when we transferred them over, we had about 80. Okay. Now we're actually at about 130. Okay. And so our police department has grown by leaps and bounds. Okay. And in terms of their ability to address whatever the crime is, talk about that a little bit. I'm probably too excited about police right now. When the police came over, we kind of had a shortfall, probably about 80 police officers. We also had some challenges with equipment, dated automobiles. We have actually put about 30 new cars out on the street. Okay,
so how many cars total do we have now?
Total, I think we're right around 109 today.
And we have one police officer per vehicle?
No, so we're actually doing a new order now, so we'll actually have a surplus of about 5 vehicles. Okay. So for our approximately 130 officers, we'll have about 135 cars.
And the ratio of police officers to population, where do we stand there?
So I don't know our averages offhand, but we're actually in the top 10% of cities our size. Okay. So I think we're very much equipped to be able to
So we are doing the job that the citizens asked us to do.
Absolutely. Actually, crime is down about 5% across the city from where it was a year ago in the county.
Okay. Let's talk about fire a little bit. And I understand that not only are we taking care of our city, we're helping a few other cities.
Oh, absolutely.
Is that correct?
What's unique is that not only are we the new kid on the block, we're delivering services not only to the Fulton Industrial District, but also to the city of Atlanta.
Right. My understanding is if the mayor's house catches fire,
we're coming to put it out. Absolutely.
All right. So as far as police and fire, we are at a level where we are providing the services that people expect us to support.
Absolutely. I would say confidently that we're exceeding that.
Okay. And in terms of the amount of time it takes for a police officer to show up after they're called?
So the total number is about 10 minutes from call initiation, but from dispatch is right around 7.5 minutes, which is, we want to get it a little lower, but that's about the time in the region.
Okay, so people can take from this conversation that we have a safe city in terms of...
Without a doubt, and getting safer by the day. I mean, I think you know about Chief Meadows, one of the stars of the region, has joined us.
I think he's one of the best chiefs that I've seen in a while, and he's doing a wonderful job, from what I can tell. And same with your fire chief. I think he's doing an excellent job as well.
Yeah, Larry Few, Chief Larry Few represents not only the city, but really the region. And I think that's part of the reason, you know, the response times for fire are actually some of the best in the region at under 6 minutes and 30 seconds. A lot of that has to do with not only Chief Few's leadership, but his ability to advocate and actually change our EMS provider to now, you know, we have Grady, which has reduced our times by 50%. Wonderful. So it's been very helpful.
And as you know, while we were putting this together, one of the biggest arguments against it was, well, we don't have the economic base to do this. Even though we had this study done by Georgia State that was very clear that we did have it, an economic base. What we have too is what most cities don't have, which is vacant land. And opportunities for growth and development. Is that?
Yeah, I think that's where our biggest opportunities are. So I think, you know, one big proponent of the city, now I believe that cities can borrow and issue debt, but I think as a new city, one of the challenges we had was we had to kind of start off in the middle of a fiscal year, and so we took out a tax anticipation note of about $12 million.
And I understand we have paid it all back.
100%. The city would be considered debt-free today.
Now that is a wonderful thing.
Absolutely.
And not only did we transition all of these departments over, we borrowed money and paid it back.
Absolutely.
And none of our employees are furloughed like they are.
No, not at all, not at all. We're operating at 100%. And I tell you, we've done all those things ahead of schedule. And so I think that's probably the most important but also impressive part, is that we had a 2-year period to be able to do it, and every milestone that was set by the city, we beat it by at least about a week.
Okay, so talk about the economic portion of the city. Where are we in terms of growth and development? And, you know, ultimately I want to be able to talk about what we think ought to be going forward.
Absolutely.
But for right now, what is the financial base, so to speak?
So I'll tell you, the city is actually, I mean, there's some very impressive stats that Georgia Power, one of our partners in economic development, has produced for us. And so we're excited about that. Our median household income is one of the best in not only the region, but actually the state of Georgia. And so we trend above
Which is about what?
I believe our median household income is about $70,000 per household.
That's
in most households. And listen, it is trending above not only the state, but also our larger partners like Atlanta, like Marietta, College Park. And so we have a very strong base. I think the thing that is very unique about that, though, is that about 65% of our residents are actually homeowners, not renters. And so that's another stat that kind of tells you our population.
But do we need, you know, everybody that's dealing with economics, you know, knows in order for your city to grow, you have to have several tiers of housing.
Very true.
And I know we do not have a lot of apartments in our city, but we need some.
We do. You know, I wouldn't just say apartment living, but also that multifamily housing. Absolutely. And so I think that's actually something that is really in the future for the city. I think what we've done to really spur growth in the city is to push things back forward to our state partners like yourself, where we're looking at TADs, tax anticipation districts, will help us be able to invest in those multifamily units and attract, you know, the type of commerce and revenue that our citizens are looking for.
And, you know, you probably get this question too, City Hall.
Yeah.
Where are you guys looking to put it?
So I tell you, I can't give away all the secret sauce right now, but we have been looking at a variety of different places. So right now, Fulton Industrial is not actually in the city of South Fulton.
Right.
We hope it will be here soon.
I know we are working on it.
Absolutely. And so that's a central location that does work as a city hall, because that would be one of our strongest areas of commerce. Okay. But we've also looked over at in District 1 and in District 2. I think Vanderbilt Lakes, that's an area that, you know, we've all kind of looked at. And,
I've looked at that.
And it's a very, very unique place to be able to put a city center or city hall.
Yeah, I looked at that area, you know, when we were putting the things together, and I had this vision of a boardwalk going around that lake with hotels and restaurants and all kinds of stuff, and City Hall over in there as well.
So I do believe that, you know, I mean, I think that's a vision that is shared by our council. I think we're definitely exploring that right now. Probably about a year or so away from making some decisions on that, because we want to make sure that these new economic development tools that we put in place have an opportunity to mature.
And as we talk about that, you know, the economic development, because I think that is probably what's in everybody's mind, you know, how are we going to keep taxes low and keep revenues high, so to speak. And, you know, which was part of the vision that I had when we were working on this city. And one of the things was to try to make sure that people who live here have an opportunity to participate in the growth and prosperity of this city.
Yeah, I think
what kind of things can you work?
I think that's really kind of been the cusp of our activities in year 1 and 2 is around economic development. So we have put together a variety of things to make small businesses really kind of shine and grow in the city. So when I started about 10 months ago, we had about 980 small businesses registered with the city. Now we have close to 1,800.
Wow.
And so we're investing by not only making them aware of being able to do business with the city and partner with the city, but also helping them grow. We've invested about $100,000 in small business grants. We've also launched a small business incubator as well.
Is there some sort of an incentive that's provided for people who actually live here to participate?
Absolutely, and so
benefit?
So our programs right now are only available for South Fulton residents and resident-owned businesses. So only resident-owned businesses or businesses that are already operating in the city will be able to have access to those tools, and only residents will be able to participate in the small business incubator.
Okay, great. Now you told me you had some questions that you wanted to run by me.
I have a few.
We need to take a break for a minute, and we'll come back.
Absolutely, I'm ready with my questions.
Okay.
All right.
Well, we're back, and Odie, when we stopped, I know I said that I was going to answer your questions, but I got one other thing I want to run past you. We have a city that is predominantly African American, and one of the things that I've been pushing is to make sure that we do business with others of African American descent. Where are you in that?
Well, I'll tell you, we're making some great progress on that. Currently, the council is actually looking at a CBE program, Certified Business Enterprise, that will be focused on minorities doing business with the city. In addition to that, though, now that we are debt-free, and you know, cities do have to borrow money continuously, and so while we're debt-free now, we will take on debt, and that's how we increase our credit.
But by paying it off on time or ahead of time, it improves our credit.
Absolutely, and that's how you actually, you know, increase your credit and get those AAA ratings and things that we plan to have. But we've been looking and having some great conversations with Citizens Trust Bank. Adrian White over there, their chief financial officer, has been a great help in helping us do our financial planning and look at our outlook. We've also looked at some of the smaller firms as well and doing business with the city.
So that is on the radar?
Oh, absolutely. I think that's the only way we'll really be able to sustain our community.
Okay, we want to make sure that we want to keep some of those dollars here and help them grow.
Absolutely.
All right, now what are the questions you have for me?
I'll tell you, I have a few. So I think first, knowing that you have been in the legislature since 2003, long period of time, you've seen the city of South Fulton before it was the city.
Absolutely.
You know, what, in your opinion, is the key onus, the focus of developing the city? Why was it so important?
Well, there were a number of things that were important. For one thing, I know your dad, and I know your dad told you to go to school, get a good education, so that you could go beg somebody for a job.
That's true.
He didn't say it that way, but that's what it amounted to.
Close enough.
And then we do that. You know, you go out, you get that good education, and you go to work for people and you live out somebody else's dream. And then you get laid off. You know, they say, you know, okay, we appreciate it, but now, you know, I'm in my 50s. What do you do now? Yeah. And so part of the vision for this city was for the city to become an incubator, a place where people who did not traditionally have access to resources in order to build their businesses and create wealth that could be passed on from generation to generation. That's what I saw as the potential for this city. You know, our area is it's opportunity for growth. We have vacant land, and to the point that I was trying to make earlier when I asked you the question, I want to see people who live here and play here and work here own the businesses that are here. That doesn't mean we want to isolate ourselves and do that, but we want to make sure that as this city grows and prospers, that the people who live here have a chance to grow and prosper with it. That was my vision.
I'll tell you, that's exciting, you know, to kind of see those things coming to fruition. Yeah. When you look at our city, I mean, we have everything from police to fire. Economic development is driving things now, and even the planning and zoning changes that our council has put into play is really kind of spurring growth. Right. What do you see as the biggest opportunity for the city of South Fulton?
Well, you know, I think we have to identify what we want to be when we grow up, as they say. Okay. And I think that could be a lot of things. Right now, there's a Silicon Valley out in California. We need a Silicon Valley here in our area. Okay. And I think with all of the vacant land that we had a company that came here not too long ago they're actually on the borderline of our city. But it's called Switch. Okay. But that company is basically a place where bigger companies, other companies, store their data. Okay. And so they build around it. And some of their clients are the Googles of the world, Amazon, and all these other big companies. Okay. And if we can attract those companies to our city, and all of the things that support those companies, the small businesses that they would have to support them, we could own those things. You know, and I hear people all the time, you know, and I don't take this the wrong way, I hear people all the time say, well, we need a Starbucks here, and we need this here. And they name all of these small businesses, but we could have you know, what we're saying is that we want a good quality place to go and get a cup of coffee and socialize and mingle. That could be Odie's coffee. I
get it.
You know, that could be somebody here. And so that's the vision, is to try to give people who are here an opportunity. We have not traditionally had access to the bonding and to the insurance and to the capital and all of the things necessary. That's what we can do. You know, we can make those kinds of things available to the residents here so that they can grow along with the city.
Well, so I'll tell you, it does. I mean, I think it is interesting because as I look at the shape of the city and the direction that we're going in, I guess I'm excited because it does align with that vision. And I think that's one of the questions that I have for you. When you look at our city, we have what I think is a unique form of government. We've got the council manager form of government, where our elected body has the big vision and the governance vision, and you have a day-to-day manager.
Exactly.
Well, when you look at that, I think for a while—
that was by design, believe me. When we were putting this together,
it seemed like it was planned. And when I look at that and I see the deliberate nature from the state level, one, I think I'm impressed because I see that our council has aligned with that vision. And so what I would be curious about from you is, now that we've reached that first 2-year mark and we've actually made every threshold and benchmark that we were supposed to meet, what's next? What would you provide in vision and guidance to our council? What would you advise them to focus on in this next 2-year period?
Yeah, I think the economic development obviously is one. Partnering better with the members of the General Assembly. Making sure that we are all, you know, talking out of the same pew there and trying to go forward with this vision. Partner with our schools to make sure that the schools have the tools that they need, and that we can make sure that we have the workforce needed to do all the things that we're talking about doing. I think that the main thing, the message that I would want to give to them is to look at all of the pieces that are available to them to make this city the city that we all want it to be. This is not just a city. This is a city that's in a county. It's a city that's within a state. It's a city that shares the population for educating our, responsible for educating our children. So we're not isolated. We're all part of the same team, and I think that if we all focus on that and do our part, you know, you've heard me talk about the baseball team before. You know, there's 9 players on that team, and we all want to win the game. But we all have to play our base.
Absolutely.
And if I'm the first baseman and the ball hits the third base and I run over there, I'm in the third baseman's way. Right? And my base ain't covered.
Listen.
Right?
You know, that's an interesting perspective, and I definitely I like that, and I think I accept the challenge, and I know that our council will. I mean, you know, Bill Edwards and our dynamic council, very engaged in the community, and I think that has been something that, you know, has been a pillar of our success, is hearing from the community and then turning the mirror back and ensuring that there's a two-way street of communication and responsiveness from our citizens and from our governing. But my question for you would be,
you know, the other piece of it, and don't lose your question, is I think we have to come up with some destination places, destination spots in our city. When you go to New York, if you say New York, something comes to mind, does it not?
It does.
What comes to mind?
Big lights, Broadway.
Something. You know, you say, you know, Chicago, something comes to mind. Los Angeles, something comes to mind.
The beach.
And so when we say City of South Fulton, something has to come to mind. And so that would be another challenge that I would, you know, give to the City Council, is to come up with some things that make this a destination point. Our close proximity to that airport should make us an attraction. And if we build some nice hotels where people don't have to go all the way to downtown Atlanta in order to find a nice hotel, have some recreation.
You know, we're excited about that now. We've got our first hotel, the Fairfield Inn, and we actually have 2 more Marriott hotels coming online.
Well,
so
all of those
excited about that.
If we create a place that is a destination so people don't have to go that 18, 20 miles into Atlanta, they can just come here. That is something to focus on. What was your other question? I'm sorry.
Well, and so I think it kind of lines up. So I mean, you know, I believe that accountability is a two-way street, and so as the city has to be accountable, and our mayor and our council has to be accountable and responsive to the citizens, I'd ask you, what challenge would you give our citizens? I mean, now that we've made it this far, this is the time where it's really an opportunity for our citizens to be engaged, involved, and help guide us on how they want to be governed. How would you challenge them, and how would you advise them to get involved with the city?
You know, it was interesting as we were putting this together. We did have close to 400 people participate in different committees.
Really?
Oh yeah, at least 400 people. They were participating in different committees. They talk about police, protection, fire, economic, all of these different things. And they met volunteers, and they came up with position papers and different things. I would, you know, challenge you to get with some of those folks and ask them for that information, because a lot of the stuff that you guys are doing, somebody's already done some planning. Take advantage of it. You know, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. And if you don't like what they have, just don't use it. But the point is, if that is a way to get citizens involved, is by asking them for their opinion and then making sure that you listen to that opinion once they give it to you. And so to the citizens, I would say stay involved. I would say, if you have an idea, if you have a suggestion, don't hold it to yourself. You know, bring it out. Let's talk about it and see what we can do.
It's a good counsel, I'll tell you, when I look at the future of the city, I mean, it's no secret I've worked in a variety of different places, but there is no place that is more ripe for opportunity than the city of South Fulton.
And I agree with you.
And
we're going to have to wrap it up, but anything that you want to talk about that we have not talked about?
Well, so I think what's on the horizon legislatively. One thing that I would be extremely curious about is we're going into legislative session.
Right.
Fulton Industrial is one of those things that's unsettled. There are other annexations that are actually being overturned. At the state level, what do you see on the horizon that you guys will be pushing out, down to us as local government, to our citizens? What's next?
Well, the main thing is, again, economic development.
Okay.
We're going to be trying to push things that allow the cities and the citizens within these cities to have more opportunities to grow and develop with those cities. So I'm going to be looking for opportunities at the state level to put programs in place to support that. Needless to say, I'm going to be pushing again to try to get Fulton Industrial into our city, because I think that's appropriate. They have been part of our city forever.
Before we were a city,
we all worked together. So this is their home, and we want to bring them home.
Absolutely.
And so we'll be looking at that. Ways to partner with our education, as I told you earlier, to make sure that we have the workforce that we need to grow our city. So all of those things will be part of the plan.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. I tell you, on behalf of our mayor, our council, and the citizens that we get to serve every day, it's a pleasure to sit with you and learn a little bit more about the city from the father of the city. And I am thankful that you and those who represent us at the state level pushed this through and gave us an opportunity at self-realization. So.
And I appreciate that. We are on the threshold of creating something that's going to last longer than you and I.
Yeah.
And I'm excited about the idea that your children and my children will be able to look back, 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now, 100 years from now, and say that our parents and our grandparents were involved in the creation of a dynamic place.
Absolutely.
And so I'm looking forward to it. We probably need to have, they have out in California, that place where they put the footprints or the handprints.
Oh yeah, the Walk of Fame.
Walk of Fame. We need our Walk of Fame here.
I tell you now, that's a challenge I think I'm going to take back to City Hall.
Right. Yeah. Well, thanks again. I appreciate the opportunity, and I look forward to working with you.
Absolutely, yes sir.
Okay?
Yes sir.
Take care.